Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss another perfume which I think is great and I've been using it for the past couple of years. It's from Celine and it's called Nightclubbing. Nightclubbing is an interesting perfume which is infused with galbanum and kind of like resins, and it's also very quiet. But to talk about this fragrance is that everybody say that it smells like an ashtray or cigarette smoke, which is actually true from the dose of galbanum that you can find in the fragrance. And whoever is in charge, like behind the fragrance, even though we don't know who's the perfumer, but we know who's the artistic director of Celine, which is Hedi Slimane. And if you know anything about Hedi, is that Hedi is totally obsessed with all kinds of like rock and roll and indie rock and roll and the whole LA scene and kind of like the Parisian chic of the 60s and the 70s and everything that comes with it in terms of looks and aesthetics. And this is obviously what was tried to be achieved in this fragrance. It's called Nightclubbing, and it's kind of reminiscence of an experience of going out. And it's not that it really smells like a cigarette in that kind of like way. I mean, it does, but not only a cigarette. It does smell like an ashtray, it does smell like a cigarette, but it smells like the whole experience of going out, which means when you go out, you do your hair. Some people use hair products, hairspray, they use their perfume, they have the smell of their clothes, they also smoke, they drink alcohol, and the whole kind of like experience and the smell of everything together. That's the experience that Nightclubbing kind of like gives off, I would say. And it does smell like strong cigarette smoke with a base of sweetness and the famous, what you can find in like all of the Celine line, which is vanilla and orris butter, which is iris, obviously, but it's what they extract from the deep roots of the iris. And that's kind of a thing through the whole line. You know, the line has a certain DNA that you can find in all of their perfumes, and that's actually a very clever marketing scheme because it gives the company and it gives Celine Fragrances a DNA that you can immediately recognize. It gives it a language. And there's many companies who actually engage in that kind of marketing, which is also very smart because you can identify immediately that somebody is wearing this kind of brand or that kind of brand. And some brands that do that are actually Chanel, which is most famous for its aldehydic kind of like footprint that you can always smell. A Chanel fragrance had this little bit of like oomphiness and sweetness, and it has this Chanel patchouli also in it. So you can recognize a Chanel fragrance very, very fast in this style of a Chanel fragrance. Another company, which is a perfume company, which is very famous, is Guerlain, which, so they say, used to use the Guerlainade. The Guerlainade was a base which is kept secret, that all of the Guerlain perfumes supposedly have them inside of them. I don't know if they're still doing it or engaging in all of their perfumes, but at least the most famous perfumes of Guerlain, the men, the female one, they all have this base which is concocted from a lot of ingredients which makes it smell Guerlain. And another company who also does it is Prada. Prada is known for being the king of soapy fragrances, and you see a lot of fragrances of Prada that they have this, especially the infusion line, that has this iris note or kind of like this soapy clean note that you can recognize immediately and know it's a Prada fragrance. But having said that, we're here to talk about Nightclubbing by Celine, and this little one is really, really, really good. And it's something which is so unique in terms of a fragrance because of the experience it created, as I said, of like being in a club and smoking and so on. And in fact, I was visiting Germany at the time. We were visiting a friend, and she's an art teacher there in Germany, and she's much, much older than us, like maybe, I don't know, I think she's close to her 70s, and she smelled it off of me like a winter cold night, and she said it smells like a jazz club, which is amazing actually, that somebody managed to create this experience and somebody else can recognize it. So when it comes to that, Nightclubbing totally does it. It opens with a lot of galbanum, which makes it smell kind of like cigarette, kind of like cigar type of thing. Galbanum is a green shrub usually found in the areas of Iran, and what it creates is a very smoky but also soapy experience when it like kind of dries down. And you can find other fragrances that actually do the same kind of like trick. I would say it doesn't smell exactly the same, but it creates the same kind of like smoky, soapy experience. One of them is Untitled by Maison Martin Margiela, which creates kind of like the same game between something which is really, really green on the verge of being smoky and then like turning into more of a skin scent, which is very soapy. And I have a story with Nightclubbing because to me personally, it reminds me of something from my past. And I remember that when I was a small child, my sister, who is way older than me, we have maybe 15, 20, yeah, 15, I should know that, 15 years apart between us. And she was just on the verge of starting her professional career. She was in her early 20s and she was getting her first professional job. So she acted the part and she dressed the part. Back then she dressed all in black. She had like her chestnut hair and her perfume, and she used to smoke because you show success, at least for women at the time, so it was thought of. If you smoke and you're a serious woman who works and also looks great. So my sister, when she came back home after a day of work, with her perfume at the time and the cigarettes she smoked and the coffee or the hairspray or whatever she put on herself, she used to smell exactly like Nightclubbing. At least in my memory, she smelled like Nightclubbing. And I think that's due to the fact that my sister used to use a very specific perfume by Lancome, which is called Magie Noire. Magie Noire is a beautiful perfume, which I think exists since the 70s, and it's been reformulated over the time, but it kind of like kept its body. I don't know how it smells like today. If anybody of you smelled it in recent years and knows if it smells the same, let me know in the comments. But it has the same thing where it has this really galbanum kind of like effect that comes out when you spray it, and then it like lingers and settles down into something that reminiscent of Nightclubbing, I would say. So if anybody of you smelled Magie Noire by Lancome, let me know if you see any similarities, if you know both of the perfumes. But Nightclubbing is, I would say, fit for very intimate encounters, whether you go out or whether you are just with friends or you go to the office. It has something which is close to the skin. It's very warm, it's very mysterious, and it feels like fun in the most beautiful kind of discreet kind of way. It's not necessarily a skin scent. I think that most of the Celine perfumes in the line, they're very close to your skin, but it doesn't mean they're skin scents. They have something which is very mysterious in the way that, you know, the wind can blow your body or your neck and then somebody next to you will feel it, or you will just start to heat up from, I don't know, walking around or drinking wine and somebody will feel it from your pulse points. And it's a beautiful fragrance that mimics a night of a lot of fun. And that was my review for Celine Nightclubbing. Get it? It's really, really great. And thank you for sniffing with me once again. If you liked the video, please subscribe and push the bell button so you can get notified for newer videos and kind of activities I will do in the future. Thank you. See you. Bye.